Shalom, shalom. We are the Hebrew Israelites coming out here week in and week out to prophesy the downfall of this wicked society and wicked kingdom, teaching our people who they are and to repent for the remission of sins, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand, right? And we're out here on it like we want it every week. You know, had a couple of weeks off myself, but that was due to unforeseen things. But bottom line is the camp still came out and did the work. Here we are back in Croydon, and we're going to talk about how these other nations, they don't love you. These other nations do not love you. These heathens do not love you, right? Somebody get me Psalm chapter 139, verse 19, right? Because these other nations are your enemy, and they're also the enemy of your God. Okay, God has enemies. But first, glorify the Father. We're going to say, Barakatah Yahawah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawah, Barakatah Yahweh, Immanuel, Shalom, Kwan Yasharala, Kwan Yasharala. So the Most High has enemies, and so do you. You don't know that you have natural born enemies. Psalm 139.
Psalms 139 and verse 19. Surely thou wilt slay the wicked, O God. Depart from me, therefore, ye bloody men, for they speak against thee wickedly, and thine enemy take thy name in vain.
Right, the enemies take the name in vain. Now, this isn't to say that they're literally taking the name Yahawah in vain, because most of them don't know it. When it talks about names, names can go into more than just what you're called. It can go into your reputation. So they talk about the God of this Bible in so many blasphemous ways, right? They say he hates the sin but loves the sinner, right? That's blasphemous. He didn't say that. That's a lie, right? They say, come as you are. That's a lie. They make him soft and effeminate. That's a lie. They blaspheme his reputation. Because a name isn't always what you're called. Let's say there's a dude who robs Tesco all across London City. Nobody knows his identity, but he's just known as the Tesco Bandit, right? And somebody comes up, hey, did you hear the Tesco Bandit struck again? No one said his name, but based on that, you know who you're talking about. So it's the same sort of thing where they call him God, they don't call him by his name, but they do blaspheme him through the way that they talk about him. Well, the way that they talk about the God of this Bible, they describe a different God, but they make it out as if that's the God in this Bible. But that's not the God in this Bible. The God in this Bible is not soft, he's not effeminate, and he's not friends with everybody. He has enemies, plenty of them too. Keep reading.
Verse 21, do not I hate them, O Lord, that hate thee?
He said, do not I hate them that hate thee? If you hate the Lord, guess what? We hate you. We hate you other nations, because you hate the Lord. It's just natural for you to hate the Lord. For you to want a war against him, building a Tower of Babel, trying to set yourself up as God, right? It said, do not I hate them that hate thee? Read on.
And I grieve with those that rise up against thee.
Right, so am I not grieved with those that rise up against thee? Right? Are we not grieved with the ones that rise up against God, that try to destroy his holy people, destroy his laws? Guess what? That's an act of war against God. Trying to make his laws void. That's an act of war against God. You are literally trying to rise up against God, right? If they could have it their way, they would go to war in the heavens with it, right? But they can't do that. Anyway, read on.
I hate them with a perfect hatred.
Perfect hatred. We hate them to our very core. We hate them. We can't even express how much we hate them. It's a perfect hatred, which means it's righteous and it's just. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just the right kind of hatred. Read on.
I count them as mine enemy.
Count them as what?
I count them as my enemy.
Now they're my friends.
I count them as my enemy.
They're my buddies.
I count them as my enemy.
We count them as our enemies. So if you make yourself an enemy of God, you're our enemy, right? We hate you with a perfect hatred, and we count you as our enemies. Was that verse 22? Right. Somebody grab Psalms 83. Start at the top. Psalm 83. Slacky though, read verse 1 again. I wanted to get a point. Verse 21, Slacky.
Psalms 139, verse 21. Do not I hate them, O Lord?
Slacky, verse 20.
Psalms 139, verse 20. For they speak against thee wickedly,
Right.
and thine enemies take thy name in vain.
Right. So they speak against him wickedly and take his name in vain. Or just spoke him down. Let me see what I wanted. I had a point to make. Right, they take the name in vain. They hate him. So we'll just get into Psalm 83 and I'll pick it up from there.
Psalm 83 and verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O Yahawah. Hold not thy peace and be not still, O Yahawah. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
Right, the ones that his enemies. So we use three kind of literary verbiages, right? His enemies, the people that rise up against him, right, and the ones that that hate him, right? So we're establishing who his enemies are, right? In Psalm 139, it talks about the Lord has enemies. He has people that he hates. So, like, you bring out verse 2 again, King.
Verse 2. How sluggier, for though thine enemies make a tumult.
Right, so just like it says in Psalm 139, verse 20, for they speak against thee wickedly, and thine enemies take thy name in vain.
And they sluggier, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
Right, it says, they that hate thee have lifted up the head. So we've already cross-referenced the word enemy from Psalm 139 to Psalm 83. And then in verse 20 in Psalm 139 it says, for they speak against thee wickedly, and thine enemies take thy name in vain. It's like in verse 21, do not I hate them, O Lord, that hate thee. Right, so that's another cross-reference. The word hate. And am not I grieved with those that rise up against thee. In Psalm 83 it said they lifted up the head. That is literally to try and rise up against him. It's the same thing, just worded a little different. So those 3 points connect these chapters. So we can see clearly that the enemies in Psalm 139 are the enemies in Psalm 83. The ones that we are supposed to hate with a perfect hatred in Psalm 139 are the enemies in Psalm 83. Carry on from verse 6, Babu Kashan. Verse 6, you might have to turn the page.
Psalms 83 and verse 6. The tabernacles of Eden.
Of who?
Of Eden.
Right, so he mentioned his enemy, who his enemies are in the beginning of this chapter. So now we've gone to verse 6. We're still in the same context. We're talking about who these enemies are. And we already cross-referenced with 139. So the people that we're supposed to hate with a perfect hatred is the same people in this chapter. So Edom, the so-called white man, we are supposed to hate with a perfect hatred. We're not supposed to love them. Keep your hands to yourself, please. Can you keep your hands to yourself, please? Don't be touching our young princes. You creep. Just as we talked about Edom too. Hate him with a perfect hatred, you sick weirdo. Right, read on.
And Ishmaelite.
And the Ishmaelites, right? So, the Ishmaelites is the Arabs, right? And the Lord said that he hates them, right? So, the Arabs have a certain religion, you might know about it, it's called Islam, right? How is the Lord going to say that he hates the Arabs, the Ishmaelites, and then he's going to send an angel to make a profit out of their people? That doesn't make any sense. That's a cut right there. Islam is dead at the door. We don't even need to discuss it, really. It's dead where it lies, right? Because that is just, how's he going to say he hates them, then he's going to raise up a profit out of them? It doesn't make any sense, right? Bring out your precept.
Isaiah 49 and verse 7. Thus says the Lord, the Redeemer of Israel, and his Holy One, to him who man despises, to him who the nation abhorreth, to a servant of rulers, kings shall see and arise, princes also shall worship, because of the Lord that is faithful, and the Holy One of Israel, and he shall choose thee.
Break that down, King.
Basically, the Holy One of Israel, the Most High, all the nation that hate him, and all the nation that despises his children, basically, his chosen one.
Oh yeah, right. So they're all going to come back down.
This is the book of Psalms 25, verse 19. Consider thy enemy, for they are many. They hate me with a cruel hatred.
I see that. Consider thine enemy, for there are many. Right? There are many enemies of the Most High, and we already said, I hate them with a perfect hatred, and I consider them mine enemies. Right? So all these other nations, and like we're just listed in Psalm 83, all these other nations who hate the Most High, we're supposed to hate too. All these other nations that he's calling his enemy, we're supposed to count them as our enemies.
That's
You
right.
have natural enemies in the Bible, right? You have natural enemies in the Bible. Yahawah, can you read this one? Start. Right, so this is from the book from Babylon to Timbuktu, right? This is how Islam got started, because it wasn't he was never a prophet. The angel never came and saw him. There's a spooky little coincidence we're going to uncover in here, right? This is another way in which they blaspheme his name, because they try and say it's the same God of the Bible, right? So read that, and then we're gonna uncover something.
Okay. Babylon from Timbuktu. After Muhammad became a camel driver, he traveled to a remote and intriguing lands. He led his caravan to Persia, Assyria, Syria, and Egypt, transacting business with merchants of every kind.
Right. So Muhammad was a merchant man, kind of going around. He was kind of like sort of like a vagabond. Didn't really settle down, just doing business, traveling. He was illiterate, so he wasn't really reading and writing. He wasn't really doing any kind of scholarly stuff. He was just traveling and trading, right? Read on.
On his business trips, he met Jews, Christians, and members of other sects.
Right. So he met Jews on his business trips, right? Let's see what he thought about these Jews.
He interrogated them concerning the tenets of their religion.
Right, so he wanted to know the details. He wanted to know, because he saw that they were a holy people. He saw that they were a blessed people. He saw that they were special. And he's like, I want to know what these guys are all about. So we interrogated them. He was always, please tell me. He was constantly getting onto them. I need to know about this. Tell me about your religion, or as it would have been a heritage. Read on.
He frequented the environment of the Jews and their rabbis.
Right, he came around the neighborhoods. He always came around the neighborhoods trying to find Jews and trying to find rabbis. He was trying to find the masters, the people who were well-versed. He wasn't trying to find the average Joe. He was trying to find the big dogs in the synagogues, right? Read on.
Mostly because they were merchants and an omnipresent ethnic group. Because he could not read or write, his ears were attentive and keen to everything.
So lucky, we'll pick it back up. Hello, how are you? You good? So, have you ever heard of the Israelites before? Yeah? What do you know about Israelites? Right. Nah, it's cool. I didn't know the Bible at all before a couple of years ago. You know, so it's always a starting point. You know, can't expect everyone to be well versed. But what do you know about the Israelites? Do you know about the captivity in Egypt? Do you know about Moses? What did Moses say to? Did he say, "Let my see"? I'm just. It's cool. I'm testing the waters. Right. I'm just trying to see where you're at. That's all it is. I'm not trying to draw you out or anything. So, basically, the Israelites were in slavery in Egypt. You heard about Moses parting the Red Sea, surely? Parting the Red Sea? Okay. So he did that for a specific people, right? He didn't do that for everybody. He did that for the Israelites.
Sister, and the Israelites, they are a nation of people. It's a different nations, because God created 18 nations, but He chose your nation, which is the Israelite.
Right. So, get me, I think it's Ecclesiastes 4, I think it's the last verse. It's, there's no end of all the people. So, basically, we have to go into this Bible, because if you don't mind me asking, where are you from? Or where's your father from? Yeah. Jamaica, right. Do you think you can find Jamaica in the Bible?
I wouldn't look for it.
I'm gonna spoil it for you. It's not there. It's not there, right? But obviously, your people go further back from Jamaica, right? But even before Africa, because Africa was named after was it a Roman? Scipio Africanus. He was a Roman general, and he did a lot of conquering. So they named the continent after him, right? So even before Africa, your people go back, right? So even in the biblical times, like I say, you're not going to find Jamaica in the Bible. You're not going to find Africa in the Bible, but your people still exist there in biblical times. So you have to find out who you were in those times. And who's got that Ecclesiastes?
This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 4 and verse 16. There is no end of all the people, even of all that have been before them. They also that come after shall not rejoice in him. Surely this is vanity and vexation of spirit.
Right, so the point being is that there's no end of all the people, even the people that have been before. So all the nations of people, we call it race these days, but race isn't exactly accurate. But all these nations you see out here, it's all the same people. There's never been new people. These people have never died out. It's always been the same people. So you have to find out who you are according to the Bible, because you don't find Jamaican, African, you don't find black, you don't find white man, you don't find Englishman, you don't find any of that in the Bible. So you have to find out who you are according to the Bible. But luckily, the Most High God is so merciful, He gave us clues to figure out who we are. Bring out your precept.
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus 17 and starting from verse 10. And the elect shall praise his holy name. Besides this, he gave them knowledge and the law of life for an heritage. He made an everlasting covenant with them and showed them his judgments.
Right, so He gave us the law of life for an heritage, right? I'm about to show you something about that heritage. He said He gave us the law of life for an heritage. Have you ever heard of the Torah? So, you know, the 10 Commandments? Right. So there's much more than 10, there's 613, right? It sounds crazy, but it's not actually that difficult, because a lot of them are for priests, right? Even for my case, some of them are for women, so I wouldn't have to worry about those. I wouldn't have to worry about the priest commandments. So when I say 613, don't be, you know, like, oh, that's a big number, because really, day to day you keep about 10, you know? So basically, He gave us those laws as a heritage, right? But we're going to see what happened to that heritage and why we lost it, right?
Jeremiah chapter 17 verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage.
So what?
Shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not.
Why?
For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever.
Right, so there's quite a bit to unpack there. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I want to show you how you can definitely see that you're an Israelite according to the Bible. But He said that you'll discontinue from the heritage. Bear in mind, my brother just read that the heritage is the laws. So He gave us the law as a heritage. The Bible is not a religious book. It's a history book and it's your heritage, right? He said we're going to discontinue and that you will serve your enemies. Now, what does serving another people sound like to you? If you were to put it into one word. Serving another people, right? He said, I will cause you to serve your enemies, right? Satan, it starts with the same letter. I'm thinking of a certain word, right? S word. What does serving other people sound like? Slavery, right. Right, give a round of applause. So He said He's going to cause you to go into slavery, and it said because you've kindled a fire in mine anger. So because we disobeyed the Most High, that's why had to go into slavery. That's why don't have this heritage. You know, call yourself after Jamaica, which means wood and water. You're not wood and water. Call yourself a color, black. Your jacket is black. Is your skin black? It's brown, isn't it? See that? And we're going to get into it.
The book of Job, chapter 9 and verse 21. Though I were perfect, yet would I not know my soul. I would despise my life.
Write that down.
So Job is actually saying that though he was a perfect man, if he should not know himself, like how we don't know ourselves today, walking around calling ourselves Jamaican, Cuban, you know, St. Lucian, you know, we're calling ourselves British, and we're not calling ourselves what God called us, Israelites, Prince of Power. You understand? So Job is saying, though he was a perfect man, if he should not know who he was, he would despise himself. He would actually hate himself. Like how with our people, we do hate ourselves with a great hatred. Because there's black on black crime rampant throughout our people. That's because we hate ourselves. You understand? And that's because we don't know who we are. Because when I look at my brother and I call him a black man, and everything that is negative is associated with being black. You understand? That leads me to have no respect and love for my brother because he's just a black man. You understand? But when I look at my brother and I know him as a prince of power. That's what the Most High call him. You know what that means? An Israelite means a prince of power. You understand? That's what God calls us. Prince of power.
Hold on. Let me just show you. I know they're getting restless, but I know. But you got 24 hours in the day. You can get, God gave you 24 hours in it. You can give just a few more minutes to him. Just real quick. Bring that out, and then I want to just dive into Deuteronomy and bring it out.
This is the book of
We won't be
Deuteronomy.
long, I promise.
Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Right, so he said he's going to bring you into Egypt again. Now, Egypt is synonymous with bondage. I wish I could get into it, but I see you boys are getting restless. Egypt basically means bondage. I could show you it in the Bible, I could prove that, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. I see you getting on the move. But Egypt means bondage, right? He said he's going to take you into bondage again with ships. Now, who is the only people that went through this? Who's the people, though? Right.
No, not black people.
Israelites.
Oh? Israelites.
Right, so that's one identifying factor that you're an Israelite. Can somebody get a flyer? Because I see you gotta go.
Verse 48. Verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have discharged thee.
So he said you'll. But all right. Well, you're an Israelite. Basically, you need to repent for the remission of sins. That means to start keeping the laws, right? Repent means to turn back, to change from breaking the laws to keeping the laws.
But do you know what? I feel like you're a combination of Christianity and Islam.
No.
No, we don't.
No. We are not a combination of those. We're not any kind of religion, because they built those religions off of this book, which is your heritage.
Is it the same Bible that Christians read?
It is, but they will isolate a verse and take it out of context. We read it in.
Interpret it differently.
They interpret it wrong, is the point. And that's not just me being salty like I don't like it. They literally do. Like we study and we look at the context. They take it out of context, right?
And it's not by a mistake. They do these things intentionally to deceive our people, because the Bible clearly states who the Israelites are and who the Jews are. But these people, they don't want you to know that you are royalty upon the earth. You understand? So we don't assimilate with none of these religions. No Buddha, no Islam, no Christianity. None of these things. They are all for dogs. You understand? Come on, we say these things boldly.
That's right.
When we speak boldly, man. The Most High sent us out here to speak like men, not like effeminate man like in these Christian churches. So we speak boldly. You understand?
Precept.
Yes. Now make sure you check out the YouTube channel. Shalom. That means peace unto you.
Precept.
Can I bring it up?
Acts chapter 7 and verse 6. And God spake on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land, and that they should bring them in bondage, and entreated them evil 400 years. And the nation to whom they shall be in bondage will I judge, says the Lord. And after that shall they come forth and serve me in this place.
See that? So he said that there will be a 400-year bondage, and afterwards the people who put us in bondage will be destroyed. That happened in Egypt. It happened again. It's happening again today. Those years are up. Right? Now we're just waiting for the tables to turn. We're waiting for the elect to be sealed. Right? That's what we're waiting for now. Because my brother said, Joshua made a brilliant point. He said they don't want you to know your royalty. There's a very good reason for that. Right? I don't mean good as in positive, but they're not doing that for no reason. They have a certain agenda behind it.
This is the book of Jude, chapter 5 and verse 20. Now therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error in this people.
Okay, so this is a Moabite speaking to another Moabite, right? A Chinese man speaking to another Chinese man.
Now therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error in this people, and they sin against their God, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them.
See that? So they said, as long as these people are in sin, it'll be their ruin and we can beat them, right? So you can see why they want to keep you in sin. You can see why they say pork is good, why they say homosexuality is okay, why you get paid on a Friday and you finish work on a Friday, you get the weekend, you get that Friday feeling, you just got paid, now you want to go out and defile the Sabbath. Yahawah always makes a good point that the most deaths happen on the Sabbath day. Statistically, the most deaths happen on the Sabbath day, and that's not a coincidence, that's the Lord's day. Think about how much of you are defiling it, right? So that's why they design these things this way. That's why they do this. That's why they make Christmas seem so appealing. That's why they make Easter seem so appealing. That's why they make it, dress it up, make it look nice, right? That's why they do these things, because they want to keep you in sin, because that's the only way that they can stay in power. They know the minute that the elect is sealed and we are repented, it's over for them, right? Let's pick back up in Babylon. Where did you get to?
So Babylon to Timbuktu. It says, he frequent the environment of the Jew and their rabbis, mostly because they were merchants and an omnipresent ethnic group. Because he could not read or write, his ears were attentive and keen to everything that the Jews related to him.
Right, so because he couldn't read or write, he had a very good memory. And he listened very carefully to what these Jews were teaching him, right? Read on.
Muhammad learned and extract much from the Jewish religion and compounded it with his new religion, Islam.
See that? So isn't that just the craziest coincidence that he comes around, he learns about our practices and our customs, and then all of a sudden he gets this revelation, and there's a new revelation from God, and he creates this religion. Isn't that just the greatest coincidence? That just after he learned from us, right, that he now has this new revelation. It's just a bunch of made up crap. He just made it up. That's why it's not exact, right? That's why it's a bit different, right? Because it's just made up. He just came around, learned from us, kind of liked the idea, and I'm pretty sure he was jealous, man. I'm pretty sure the Ishmaelites wanted to be the chosen people. Everyone does. Everyone does. Can't blame them. That will never happen. Right.
When
dirty dogs, man.
When Khadijah, a rich widow.
So lucky, that's it. That's it. So that's just showing you, once again with the point, why would the Most High call the Ishmaelites his enemies and then give them a revelation through a prophet of their own people? He wouldn't do it. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all, right? It doesn't make sense at all. He just wouldn't do that. So, somebody get Psalm 83 and pick back up at verse 6. Oh, sure.
Psalm 83 and verse 6. The tabernacles of Edom.
Who?
The tabernacles of Edom.
It's like it. Start again from verse 1. What was it about?
Psalms 83 and verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies take a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
So the context of this chapter, we're talking about the enemies of the Lord, right? The people that we're supposed to hate and consider our own enemies, right? So keeping it in context, jump to verse 6 and let's see who these enemies of the Lord are.
Verse 6, the tabernacles of Edom. Who? The tabernacles of Edom.
Tabernacles of Edom. So Edom, the so-called white man, is an enemy of the Lord, right? That's just saith the Bible. These aren't my words. Bring out that Psalms. Keep hold of that. Bring out Psalms chapter
Psalms 50 and verse 16. But unto the wicked, Yahawah saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenants in thy mouth?
So he's saying to the wicked, the hell have you got to do with this? Why are you taking my covenant in your mouth? And it's a good reason why he's saying this. Because it's so dangerous when these heathens do that. Auntie. We'll have mercy. Pride is the beginning of the book. She threw me off too. So it's dangerous when these people take this covenant into their mouth, because then they start teaching you don't have to keep the law. They start teaching you just believe. It's dangerous, and this is what Edom does. This is a good reason why Edom is an enemy of the law. It's not the reason, there's a good reason. Go back to Psalms 83.
Psalms 83 and verse 6. The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab.
The Ishmaelites is the Arabs, the Moabites is the Chinese,
and the Agarenes, Gibal, and Ammon.
Right, Ammon is the Chinese, the Japanese, Salakia, read on.
And Amalek,
that's the so-called Jewish man, the Jewish man.
The Philistines,
those are Hamites that come from the same people as the Egyptians.
With the inhabitants of Tyre.
The inhabitants of Tyre are also Hamites, right? So somebody get me, carry on in Psalm 50. So those